everyone. Welcome to a special edition of RPV City Talk. I'm Liz Brown Swanson with the great mayor of Rancho Palos Verdes, Mayor Dave Bradley. And Mayor, we are here for the first time together at the historic Wayfarers Chapel grounds, which is now called the Heritage Site.
Right.
A year ago, that this historic chapel that was designed and built by LLoyd Wright,
Son of Frank Lloyd Wright.
Yes, was disassembled in order to save it because it was impacted by the landslide and the movement. And the goal and vision is we are going to see the chapel rebuilt, possibly on city property. We're going to talk about that in this show. And later on, stay tuned because the Wayfarers Chapel communications director is going to join us to talk about the vision of rebuilding the Wayfarers Chapel in Rancho Palos Verdes one day soon, and I can't wait for that ribbon cutting.
Absolutely. We're not sure what the property is going to be and who's going to own it, but we are looking at trying to see if we can come to an agreement with the federal government to be able to relocate the historic Wayfarers Chapel at another beautiful location here in Rancho Palos Verdes and be able to put it as part of the overall city center complex over at Kendida Civic Center.
We're excited for all this.
Absolutely.
And the partnership, but we also want to first start off by talking like we always do with an update on the landslide, especially as we sit here and we can see the power of this landslide that we've been in a state emergency for a year and a half or more now. The movement continues, but the city also is pushing forward with a lot of mitigation measures. So just bring us up to speed on what's happening with our city's landslide state of emergency.
Sure. The City Council reaffirmed our state of emergency at our last council meeting. Unfortunately, some of the funding that we had hoped to get from some of our partners within the federal government and the state government has been pulled back. So many residents and viewers out there will remember that we were granted a BRIC grant from FEMA that would have helped us implement long-term hazard mitigation projects to stabilize Palos Verdes Drive South and the landslide complex. Unfortunately, at the federal level, the BRIC grant program has been canceled. As part of that cancellation, all funding that had not been obligated and expended has been pulled back. So
that's huge hit because that's what was a $27+ million expectation in our
It had been reduced due to us having to do some emergency portions of that, which took that grant money off the table, but it was roughly $25 million that has been pulled off the table now for that. In addition, we recently found out last week that California Office of Emergency Management, or Caloes, has non-concurred on our reclama to the original denial from FEMA for the winter storm payback for the city level, which is taking approximately another $40 million off the table. All that being told, it's really leaving the city of Rancho Palos Verdes hanging out there by ourselves. Our local supervisor has helped us with some funding to the tune of about $4.2 million, but that is the only funds we've had. So the city is continuing to spend money way beyond our ability to continue to do that on a long-term basis. We're committed to stabilizing Palos Verdes Drive South, keeping it as a major thoroughfare through the city, as a connector between the South Bay and San Pedro. But at some point, it is not going to be sustainable that the city can do it. At City Council meeting Tuesday night, we authorized an additional $500,000 to maintain the infrastructure that we had put in during the emergency remediation, and that is re-drilling some of the vertical deep dewatering wells that had pinched and sheared off to get those pipes back in to continue to dewater those areas. It has shown some great reduction in movement on the east side when we're trying to bring that same type of infrastructure here to the west side. Right.
What's happening with the movement in this general area?
So on the east side, movement has slowed back down to almost nothing. So we've been very successful on the Seaview neighborhood and the Portuguese Bend Beach Club neighborhoods. In the Portuguese Bend Community Association area and over here where Wayfarers historic site is, things still continue to be much faster movement than we've seen historically, but it has slowed down from the maximum acceleration we saw about 18 months ago. So things that were moving at 10 to 12 inches a week are now moving at 10 to 12 inches a month. Historically, over in this area, we had seen things moving at like 10 inches a year. So we're still an order of magnitude faster than historic, but not the 2 orders of magnitude that we had seen.
What I want to say is the community should understand is how furiously the council, the staff is working on this. You yourself were up in Sacramento, you were lobbying, there's letters being signed regarding declaring a landslide as an emergency itself, and individual assistance being available when you're affected by a landslide. Tell the community about that effort and what the point was of your trip to Sacramento.
So our Assembly member Al Marisucci is sponsoring legislation to get land movement and landslides added to the list of disasters, natural disasters within the state of California. It's somewhat interesting to note that a landslide is not considered a disaster in the state of California. I mean, I sit here and I look at this and it's like so obvious to me, how is this not a disaster? But it is not listed, so it is not listed with wildfires and earthquakes and flooding and other types of major, what you would consider disasters. So Al Marisucci is sponsoring legislation to add landslides into the list of covered emergencies within the state code, which would allow us to reach out to Caloes as well as FEMA and the Department of the Interior at the United States government level to get funding and get
And also another bill that you were signing as mayor is that it would help with the individual assistance if that emergency is considered a landslide as an emergency. Because what is happening with individual assistance? We had, the dozens of homes that have either been red tagged or yellow tagged. I think a lot of people are getting their power back. There's so many homeowners right now that are hurting in our community.
Most of the homeowners have got their power and gas back. Not everyone. And we are continuing to work with the gas company in Southern California, Edison, to get basic services reestablished for folks. That is going slow for the last few people that need to be re-energized, and our hearts go out to those residents that have been now without power and gas for almost a year. So you think you're living in the greatest country in the world, greatest state in the country, in one of our major metropolises, and you don't have access to electricity and you don't have access to natural gas. It's just kind of crazy. But we're trying to work with that. And we're trying to work with our residents to help get them the assistance that they need. Unfortunately, because landslides are not codified in California code as a disaster, Caloes denies many of our applications, saying that's not a disaster. So we can't apply for disaster relief because we don't meet the definition of a disaster. Unfortunately, when I was in Sacramento, I was getting questions on things like that. And it's like, well, if it's not a disaster, I'll give you a call when we've slid into the Pacific Ocean, see if you've changed your tune by then.
Well, we appreciate all your lobbying efforts, and we'll keep the community updated. Also, an update on Palos Verdes Drive South. As we sit here, we hear construction going on. Thousands of people are using this road daily, and as we know, the bumpy road is being fixed nonstop. And the ban is still in effect, the temporary ban for cyclists for safety reasons. So what do you want to let our residents know about what's going on there?
So if you can hear the noise in the background, we are redoing portions of Palos Verdes Drive South once again. Recently, within the last 2 weeks, we had part of the hillside underneath Wayfarers Chapel fail and then flow across Palos Verdes Drive South, closing 1.5 of the northbound lanes that we're pulling back now. So this is the continuation of our almost weekly repaving of Palos Verdes Drive South as it continues to move. Much more here in the Abalone Cove area. Ski jump for those residents that drive this area. When your car has to shift down into first gear to get over ski jump, things are getting really, really bad once again. But we continue to be dedicated to keeping Palos Verdes Drive South open, helping our residents that live in Seaview Beach Club as well as the Community Association, and providing them access to their properties.
And for the greater public, the trail system, people are always asking what's open, what's not. Are we making improvements with repairs on trails? And about half the network still closed to the public for safety.
Roughly half is still closed, and they're going to remain closed until we get the landslide really stabilized. Things are starting to open up over on the east side, but here on the west side, I think that's going to still remain closed for the foreseeable future, primarily because fissures are opening up, and you can see this beautiful site. You can look around, and there's 2-3 foot fissures all around us that have opened up, and we can't have trails with a 2-foot fissure in them.
All right. We always tell our residents, go on to rpvca.gov for the latest on the landslide, the movement, what our city is doing. And of course, you want to watch council members and the mayor on the city council meetings, just updating you all day long on RPV TV.
Yeah, every Tuesday or every other Tuesday, if you can't sleep, there is a council meeting, and it is great fun to watch,
And
I've been told.
I don't know if I should say this. You might not be sleeping because there's a peafowl population that's growing in our community. We talk about the peafowl. You're managing the landslide, you're also managing the peafowl population. And the council just voted on reinstating the humane and safe trapping of peafowl in certain neighborhoods.
Yep.
Talk about that decision and explain to the community what's going on with the peacocks and peahens.
We have been lobbied or contacted by numerous residents in multiple areas where the peafowl population has grown back to historic numbers that are very detrimental to those communities. So at the council meeting Tuesday night, we authorized limited trapping in 3 areas to reduce those populations down to a more manageable flock. Those peafowl are not harmed. They are trapped and transported out of the area and relocated to have happy peafowl lives.
Yes.
In a different area.
I love them. They're beautiful birds. I don't
They
have
are
one.
gorgeous
I don't have them in
birds,
my yard.
But when the population gets out of
Right.
control in any neighborhood, they can be very destructive. They are large birds. During mating season, they are extremely noisy. They will destroy roofs. They will destroy plants, to the fact that they will also destroy cars. We've had some instances where a peafowl will land on a black car. They're very territorial animals, and they will see their reflection in the car, and they will start pecking
Wow,
at it. So they will turn a beautiful black car into a beautiful black golf ball.
Okay, that's new. I didn't know about that, that they were that aggressive. And this is one of the areas, Portuguese Bend, it was one of the neighborhoods that saw an increase. And also Vista Grande and Sunnyside Ridge. Those are the 3 concentrated areas, because there are 6 impacted neighborhoods that the census is done every year. And I think that's another story in itself. I'd love to go out when they take that census. And they started back in, I think, 2000 with the census. And it was in 2015, the council said, wait a minute, the numbers are getting too high.
Right. So we do the census in each of those individual sub-neighborhoods to be able to manage the population overall. We don't want to just trap all the peafowl. Many of our residents love the peafowl. They are beautiful birds, but we want to manage it so people can enjoy the peafowl, but the peafowl don't overwhelm a neighborhood and destroy it.
And residents that are having issues can call City Hall and let them know.
Absolutely.
And I think also if they're willing to have trapping done in their yards as well.
If it's one of the 3 areas that we recently identified.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you for that information. We're in budget season and we're wrapping it up. You've had workshops. They'll finalize the fiscal year 2025-26 budget coming up in June.
Yes.
What can you share about the process? And we've just talked about how we're impacted by the cost of the landslide. So what's our financial status right now? How are we shaping up?
So the major issue we've had is our capital improvement project and our fund, and how we're going to fund maintaining the infrastructure that we put in for the landslide and then doing everything else. We are quickly running out of CIP funds because of the landslide. Basic city services will not be affected, but what we're talking about is the city's ability to do the nice projects. Certainly the Civic Center revitalization plan has really put on the back burner due to our other fiscal constraints. It's not a great time from an overall city budget. The city has been based on fiscal conservancy over the years, which has put us in the position that allowed us to allocate over $45 million in an 18-month period to stabilize the landslide, all on our own, without any help from anybody else,
Right.
with the exception of some small contributions from our supervisor, Janice Hahn. By the way, once again, we really appreciate that, Supervisor Hahn.
With that, the vision, we want to talk forward here about the Wayfarers Chapel and what we're going to see. And
we are going to see a phoenix.
Yes.
We are going to see the chapel rise out of the of the crumble.
So stay tuned. When we come back, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to have the communications director from the Wayfarers Chapel join us with all the excitement that's going on about the Wayfarers Chapel. Once again, we hope to see it soon right here in Rancho Palos Verdes. Stay with us.
Will you be prepared when an earthquake hits? In Southern California, it's not a matter of if, but when an earthquake will happen. You may only have seconds to leave, so consider getting an emergency go bag like this one. Here you will find a 3-day supply of water and non-perishable food, light sticks, a first aid kit, an emergency tent and blanket. And for more information, you can always go to our website at rpvca.gov. We're always here to help, and remember, we are RPV together.
Welcome back to RPV City Talk. Rebuilding our beloved Wayfarers Chapel. That's what we're now going to focus on in this show. I'm back with Mayor Bradley, and I want to welcome and introduce the communications director of the Wayfarers Chapel, Stephanie Cartozian.
Thank you so much.
Stephanie, I just want to say thank you for arranging this. I know logistically there's so much happening on these sacred grounds that have been clearly landslide ravaged. And to be back up here, and a year ago, this was disassembled in order to save it, the chapel. And was so emotional, it's still emotional. We love this chapel and we want to get it back. And with that, tell us how you and the community is doing, the Wayfarers community, just for starters.
We worked very hard and with very little time to dismantle this historic landmark almost exactly a year ago now. And thanks to Architectural Resources Group and our construction team, it was very meticulously dismantled, and every single part of the church was numbered and labeled. Is currently in a special storage facility waiting to be rebuilt. We couldn't have done it without the original LLoyd Wright plans. We still have those plans, and that helped us expeditiously dismantle the church, and we were able to do it and save this National Historic Landmark.
Yes, and now we're calling the chapel grounds the heritage site.
Correct.
And I was mentioning about the Wayfarers community, the congregation that's here, and it's everybody can be the congregations for the Wayfarers. You're meeting at St. Francis right now, temporarily.
Exactly. St. Francis Episcopal Church in Palos Verdes Estates has been extremely gracious to our congregation. And on Wednesdays at 10 and on Sundays, we have a ministry there with Reverend Brown. And it's beautiful. I encourage you all to take a look at our website, wayfarerschapel.org, to see the specific days and times of our continuing ministries.
Before we talk about the vision going forward and also the way the Wayfarers is partnering with our city down the road, talk about you and how you came here as communications director, because you wear multiple hats. People know you also as publisher of Peninsula Magazine.
Correct.
So talk about that tie-in and how this all came together for you.
Yes, absolutely. I've been the publisher for Peninsula Magazine for about 8 years now. And through that avenue, I've been able to make quite a few media relations contacts over the last 8 years. And when Wayfarers Chapel was looking for somebody to tell their story, I volunteered. I called and said, you know, I would love to be that person. I was baptized here. My children were baptized here. It holds a very special place in my heart. And I would love to be that person to tell the story, help with fundraising, and work with the city on obtaining a new prospective site to rebuild.
All right, so let's tell the story about the coming together of the city and the vision. And Mayor Bradley, I don't know if we have some, we can obviously show the community a little bit about what's going on in the plan to possibly see the chapel rise again on the Battery Barn site near City Hall.
It was tragic about a year and a half, a little over a year and a half ago, when then Mayor Cruikshank and I were here on the steps of the chapel to announce that we were going to be closing operations. At that point, had no idea that we were going to have to go through a complete disassembly. We'd really hoped that things were going to retard in this portion of the landslide by themselves, but that was not to be. It was really amazing the job that the chapel did in disassembling and working with your conservationists to be able to do that. The city is, of course, completely committed to helping find a new home within the city of Rancho Palos Verdes for the chapel. We are in discussions with the U.S. Coast Guard to get some property on the main Civic Center complex turned over. It is excess property right now in the Federal Register. Very exciting for that piece of land. Has a lot of the same type of features that I think LLoyd Wright Jr. was looking for when he established this site with a promontory brow that then flows back into the Pacific, I think could be an absolute win-win-win from a multi-party perspective.
Very much so. And thank you, Mayor Bradley, and for all the support from yourself and Ara, the city manager. We really appreciate all the help and support that you guys have done. I know it's been quite a bit with everything else you have happening right now.
So talk a little bit more about the vision, the challenges of rebuilding the historic Lloyd Wright chapel, and the excitement of just, like, again, back to the vision. You can actually, I think, share what you love Stephanie talk about what we're thinking.
It's not very well known, but in December of 2023, Wayfarers Chapel received its National Historic Registry from the National Park Service. This is very special, and we hope to continue that at a new prospective site that Mayor Bradley is speaking of. It's very important at the new site that it have very similar characteristics to our original site in order to carry on our designation. And we had Architectural Resources Group provide some special renderings that we're showing here of what the new Wayfarers campus will look like. And it's going to be, we're going to have a much larger footprint in Rancho Palos Verdes than we previously had. Our hope is to not only rebuild the chapel and the visitor center, which was actually lost in a 1980s landslide, but we're also going to add a museum, an archival center, a restaurant, public restrooms for hikers, and we want to be a place for wayfarers and a place for the community to gather and share special moments, special occasions. That's our new goal with this new campus.
I was just going to say these renderings are absolutely spectacular, really showing the vision of what could be. I'm very excited to be able to see Wayfarers Chapel be able to be tied into the Point Vicente Lighthouse, the general Rancho Palos Verdes Civic Center complex. It's truly a amazing vision.
What's the timeline looking like, and the cost? How is this going to get funded? Let's talk about that part, because this is going to be an expensive venture. I know the chapel was already fundraising before the landslide because so many renovations were needed. So
Exactly.
but the Swedenborgian ministry that oversees this is their budget is very tight too, like everyone else. So how is this all going to come together financially?
We're still working on the financial aspects of the rebuild. We currently have quite a few local and county and state government officials who are very interested in helping out with hopefully discretionary funds. We're working on that every day. We've also had quite a few different donors inquire as how they can participate and partner with us on the rebuild. It's very encouraging. We're very excited. We're looking at probably a 2 to 4 year timeline is our goal, with the cost of, we estimate to be between $25 and $30 million. So that's kind of where we're at today.
So the city wouldn't be incurring these expenses, right? That would be more up to your organization to do the fundraising.
Correct.
And all of that. And possibility too, I don't know if it's appropriate to talk about this now, but this land here, that there possibly could be some kind of a land swap down the road where this could become open space, because this is not buildable again.
It's not buildable, but the beautiful trees we have around this site, I was struck by when I walked up here this morning how peaceful this area is. My mother was married here in 1975.
Wow.
And I remember walking into the chapel for the first time just in awe in the 70s. The glass church with the pines overhanging, and the architecture is so dramatic. Really something that a jewel within the city, and being able to get it rebuilt as part of the larger Civic Center campus is just such an amazing opportunity to bring absolute timeless architecture into the city campus.
There's
Very much so. Thank
so
you for
many
saying that.
stories here. Millions of people have come to the chapel for a wedding, a life celebration, baptism. And you told about your mom. For you, what are some of your special memories here? You've got a lot.
I was personally baptized here along with my twin girls about 12 years ago with Reverend Dan Burchett. He retired in December. I have a lot of special memories of weddings I've attended here. And just driving by and seeing this incredible masterpiece here in our own community has brought me a lot of joy, having grown up here my whole life.
You grew up here, so this
And I
is
grew up here. and not seeing it is very astounding when we drive by and we don't see it right now. So.
The bell tower driving by on Palos Verdes Drive South was always a monument. When you got over the ski jump, the bell tower was sitting there as kind of a beacon. And, you know, now you come over the ski jump and there's no chapel.
I was talking with Stephanie back in the day, 20 years ago. I was communications director doing what she's doing now, and I was so grateful. I felt
You were
blessed.
18 back then,
Yeah.
right?
And I worked for the city doing what I'm doing now, and I was here for a couple of years helping them with community events. And I was so taken aback by just, it doesn't matter what your background is, what your denomination is, people, it's for the Wayfarer, it's for everybody. And you come here and you just can't help but feel touched. And I know that the new location, when this happens, will bring all of that back, and our community needs that right now.
It's so true. And, you know, the new prospective site called Battery Barns, it's a very significant military site from World War II. And a lot of people don't know that Palos Verdes Peninsula had a very pivotal role in the war. And, you know, we hope if we're able to obtain the site with the help of Mayor Bradley, that we could, you know, bring that back to the community, where we could do tours at the underground bunker. It's about 4,500 square feet underground.
Yeah.
And it's opportunity for children, local and from afar, to come and see our military history right here in the South Bay.
Absolutely. It was part of the interlocking coastal defenses of World War I and World War II that was built along the coast of California and was here protecting Los Angeles Bay and the entrances to Los Angeles.
As we wrap it up, what would you like the community to know? How can the community help and get involved? What information will be helpful?
We really encourage the community to go to our website and donate toward the rebuild. Also, if people would like to donate their volunteer hours, we're going to need help with fundraising and community organization. And just to have your name as a prospective volunteer or donor, we would really appreciate. And we want to gather the community for this very special opportunity to rebuild this National Historic Landmark and keep it in the city of Rancho Palos Verdes. We've had other offers from other states, other countries,
Yes.
to ship the contents and materials of the chapel there at their expense and rebuild. And we are committed, and the board is committed to keeping Wayfarers Chapel here in our local community. And we can do that with the help of Mayor David Bradley. So we really appreciate all that you guys are doing to make that happen. It's a lot of work.
And these renderings, I think, give a vision for potential donors of what the plans are for it to look like. I know it's sometimes hard for donors to get their head around donating to a project that is in the future without being able to visualize. These renderings, when I first saw them, really moved me because of the long-standing architectural significance of the Wayfarers Chapel, as well as it becoming a National Historic designated site, and our ability to move it, keep it within the same general geographic area, and really highlight how this site plays into the natural Pacific beauty of the Southern California coastline. It really is just a win-win. So take a look at these things. This is kind of the idea of what they're looking for. It is truly stunning.
It is going to be unbelievable, and to preserve the LLoyd Wright legacy and the historic landmark status and all of that, that only can happen right here in Rancho Palos Verdes. Well, you have the last word about anything else we might need to add. It's wayfarerschapel.org is the website.
Wayfarerschapel.org, yes. And please go to the website and leave us your email and your information so we can stay in regular contact with you. And we encourage donations and your help, and we will definitely stay in contact through this journey. We're very excited to be doing it with all of you.
All right, you get the last word as mayor.
I want to thank both of you ladies for being out on this beautiful morning and talking about this phenomenal piece of architecture that is truly going to rise out of the rubble of what is here at the heritage site, and it's going to come back bigger and more beautiful and more significant than ever. The city and the city council, on behalf of the city council, is really excited about this project, about something that can really be part of the legacy of the city of Rancho Palos Verdes as we continue into our second 50 years.
All right. Well, that will do it for this edition of RPV City Talk. Thank you for watching. See you next time.